Hey, what's going on, guys? So today we're going to be doing an overview of Adventure Time Season 2, and I'm going to be using my reaction cam. We're going to go down the list slowly, and I'll kind of explain what happens in the episodes, as well as how I felt about that episode. So here we go. So we switch to this, we go down, I went to the wiki, and I got to the episode list. So number one, it came from the Knight of the Spear. So Marceline is singing sad songs, and while that's going on, it was a song about her father eating her fries, and while Finn basically resurrects her dad back to the world, and he starts sucking brains and going crazy. In the end, she confesses her feelings, but it didn't matter because her dad got put back into the world and basically slain, I guess. Number two is eyes. And this episode is weird. It's very odd. Um, Basically, there's this horse staring at him while Finn and Jake are sleeping at night, and they're basically just trying to get it to stop and go away. And at the end, spoiler alert, it was Ice King, so he ruined it. Number three, loyalty to the king. This episode was pretty interesting. I liked it pretty good. So Ice King basically gets tired of everything. He gets into the Prussian state. He shaves his beard, and he goes outside and he's hanging out, and princesses just start liking him because he has no beard, and they get confused. They think instead of the Ice King, he's the Nice King. It's really it's a really good episode for what it is. So number four, Blood Under the Skin. Uh, this one, so he gets the splinter, and then he goes to Juice Goose, which is like a vendor in the world, and he's basically getting some type of armor because there's a bunch of knights basically showing off their armor, and I guess in their own way, armor means who's like better than the other. And yeah, they basically get made fun of for not having good armor, and then Finn wants to get a better suit of armor. My bad. So he's trying to get a new suit of armor, and he has to go on this quest line because he couldn't afford the samurai suit. So it's really funny. It ends up at the very end that it's a woman's set of armor, and what happens is that Jake wears it. And in the end, Finn learns a lesson. It doesn't matter what others think. Number five, storytelling. Um, Jake gets sick, and what happens is Finn tells him a story, and the story's not good enough because he wants a true story, and then he gives him what he needs in his story. So he goes outside to try and find that story, and yeah, he finally gets the full story together. And then at the very, very end, it works out. Jake miraculously is better, and then Finn is the one that's sick now. So, number six, Slow Love. I have to read this one real quick because I don't remember this one too much. Finn and Jake try to woo a group of lady snails in order to save their house from a giant snail named Shortlock, who was trying to use it as a shell. Oh, that's not a very good description. So, this snail shows up out of nowhere, and he basically kidnaps their house, and he wants to fall in love, and he has no luck. At the end, after all the violent bursting, he finally learns how to juggle swords, and what was the other thing? He could sing also, so he was singing and juggling swords, and it attracts all these snails, and they're all bumping against the house, and yeah, they have to use salt to make it stop. But we figure out in the end that he's actually a slug. Number seven, Power Animal. Jake must stay focused in order to rescue Finn, who has been kidnapped by an evil gnome. I don't remember this episode much. Not very memorable episode for me. I don't have a lot to say about it. Power Animal. Mm. Or wait, was this the? No, wait. This is the one where he gets kidnapped and Jake has to basically break out of his stupid mind. And what happens is at the very end, he is like partying, and he activates the power of like the party animal powers, and then he saves him, and it gives him some power up to actually think straight. I think it was this episode. Number 8, crystals have powers. Finn and Jake visit a crystal dimension where giant crystal creatures begin. This was very weird, and this is where we come to the first part to the second part. So now we get to see Tree Trunks again, and then it comes full circle. So whenever she ate the crystal apple, it actually teleported her to the dimension. So let's see, number 9, the other tarts. Sorry, I had to look at that for a second. This is the episode where Finn and Jake had to go and take tarts, and it was the royal back rub something, the royal back rub something. And what happens is they basically make 2 batches. So there's good tarts, and then there's bad tarts. And what they put in the bad tarts is actually like this numbing stuff that it's paralysis. It paralyzes you. So it's paralyzed fluid they put inside of it. And it was kind of stupid and funny at the same time. So they decide to give the bad ones to Cinnamon. And what happens is he takes the straight line, the good path, and they take the stupid, dangerous path. And what happens is they lose all their tarts. In the end, Cinnamon gets his tarts to the royal back rub vent. And as they're eating it, it turns out that we get flashbacks of everyone else that stole from, or well, at least the butterfly. And it shows him getting paralyzed. So they got a mix up. So it was a good mistake that didn't cost them. Number 10, to cut a woman's hair. Oh, to cut a woman's hair. Sorry. So this episode, we get to see the tree woman once again. She wants hair. And how she gets that is she sits on Jake. And in the end, they couldn't please her with Princess Bubblegum's hair. And from there, Finn just gives her his hair. So it worked out. Number 11, the Chamber of Frozen Blades. Finn and Jake obsessed with the motion of ninjas. Oh, this is the episode where they go like ninja mode. So they learn a bunch of jutsus in Ice King's secret room. And he has like a bunch of like ninja stuff that he secretly is like a fan of that we never knew about. And they learned some pretty cool jutsus. So it was a good episode. Besides that, just kind of dumb overall, but I liked it. It's a fun cartoony episode. So number 12, her parents. So this is where Jake has to meet Lady Unicorn's parents. And what happens is he pretends to be a unicorn, and they see Finn, and they're just dogging on Finn because they think he's like a slave. It's really messed up in a way because Jake is putting Finn through all that trouble, and Finn's just trying to be the bro that he really is. And it ends up just, yeah. In the end, they want to eat his brains, and Jake had to tell the truth. And it turns out that they don't hate dogs, they actually like dogs. Because the whole conception of this episode was that there was a war against unicorns versus dogs. But it turns out her dad was saved by a dog. So they ended up loving him too much. And that was the fear that Lady Unicorn actually had. It was not that they wouldn't like him, they would like him too much. Okay, number 13, the pods. So Finn and Jake, the good guys, I think they were gonna go to this ice cream marathon thing where they had to run and eat ice cream. It's kind of silly. But there's like this little Nomi guy, little goblin guy, and he's watching over these like seedlings or beans. They're beans. So what happens is they're like, he's like sitting there complaining about his duty and what he's got to do, and they're like, we'll do this for you. We'll take over him and we'll watch him. And since they're kind of dumb, instead of actually just watching over the seeds, they've decided to plant all three and just take out the bad threats. The first pod, it was piglets. The second pod, magic wands. Third pod was the limited ice cream. Guess what pod was the bad one? It was both the piglets and the wands. They go over to the town and start destroying it. Jake the whole time is just fascinated by the ice cream. So we go back. So whenever they first got the piglets, they were basically making them take a test. It was just scribbles, and there was an ice cream cone on a part of it. And you'll never guess what happens. They figure out they're allergic to ice cream, and they use ice cream to actually stop them from destroying the town. So they explode. They're really cute though, really cute little like piglets. It was a good episode though. So episode 14, the Silent King. Basically, they're beating up this king that's basically abusing his power. I forgot the race. The goblins. Okay, they're goblins. So the Goblin King, he's like spanking them, and you know, he's just a little bit of a weirdo. So they take over finally. They're like, "You're the new king," and he decides to take over. Finn does. And what happens is they basically can't do anything as king without the people being in fear of getting spanked. And what happens is it's like there's like so many rules. You know, they're being read the rules, Finn and Jake, and they just fall asleep because it's so long. So eventually, you know, Finn and Jake they build a fake like paper box cut out of a king, and what happens is they decide to sneak out, and they're gonna show them how they can be a king that does things and not have problems. And what happens in return, they beat the other the other king, the old goblin that they were originally fighting. He comes back with all these like ear people. They're like ear giants, and they start clapping. Jake does with his powers, and it's just stupid. Why would you bring a bunch of ear people? Because sound's just gonna destroy them. But silly episode. But in the end, they end up liking the one that doesn't talk, because I mean it works because they never notice the difference. So number 15, the real you. The Finn agrees. Okay, this was another good episode. So Finn, he's basically he gets to speak at the science convention, or actually science barbecue. I have to look at this sometimes. But it's a science barbecue. And what happens at the science barbecue is he's scared that he won't be able to be as smart as everyone else there to impress Princess Bubblegum. What he does is he goes to Juice Goose, and he asks him if he has any items to make him smarter. He does try to go to the library and stuff, but they're so dumb that they were just being silly in there, and it didn't work out that way. So what they did is they did the Juice Goose thing. They got a pair of glasses, and whenever you put on these glasses, it makes you extremely smart. So, fast forward, they're at the barbecue, and it's Finn's time to present his speech. And what happens is he blows bubbles, and it's different dimensional bubbles. Then eventually it gets like to the fourth dimension, and it basically makes like a black hole, and everyone's like fearful. Prince Bubblegum's upset, and eventually he loses the glasses that teach you everything. And yeah, they basically black hole a sword, and I guess two black holes versus a black hole. black hole versus a black hole, destroys black holes because he had a black hole sword, which was kind of OP. And I've also noticed throughout this season um, that Finn actually had a new sword, which was really sweet. So, good one. Oh, here we go. 16, Guardians of Sunshine. Jake gets sucked into one of. Oh, this was the weirdest one, but it was also a really awesome one. You can kind of see right here. So, this had like the 3D. I don't know what you use, like a Roblox look to it. It was different than every other episode, and this was fun. So they get sucked into this game that they were playing at the start. This one isn't really that long to explain. So whenever they get sucked into it, they're trying to beat it, but this time in person, because Ben's never been able to beat this game. And basically, since they're idiots, they do it without his awareness, because he didn't want to, because it's dangerous, of course. And so they couldn't beat the game inside the game. So eventually they go back the back way. As everything's chasing them, it comes back to the real world. And everything wants to kill BMO because he's basically been the one that traps them. And just a good episode, different than every other because of the animation. It's very much experimental and I like it. Number 17, Death in Bloom, after killing Princess Bubblegum's plant. This was another one. I was like, I don't know how I feel about it. But this one actually does give us lore. So basically they have to go talk to Death. So they go to the Death world. There's like zombies trying to eat their flesh and stuff like that. They finally get to Death. And they're talking it out with Death. And Jake actually drunk water. He was warned not to. And so he didn't have his memory. So what happens is in order to get their wish granted to bring Princess Bubblegum's plant back alive, was that they had to basically rock it out. Ben's not very bright, so he picks sleigh bells, and of course, Death. He uses the drums, which is very much better than sleigh bells. And since Jake didn't know who to side with, he didn't have any side actually this episode. He basically sides with Death because it was superior anyway. Even though I think he would do that regardless. But anyway, that happens. And, well, he basically threatens Finn with eating his brain or eating his mind or something like that. And they finally tell him, hey, Candy Butler sent me here. And that's whenever we figure out. Well, he didn't get his wish granted. I'll say that first. But Candy Butler is actually a demonic or like some type of like demon or like some type of death character, if that makes sense. He's an undead at least. Number 18, Susan Strong. We basically get this depressive question of like, why is Finn the only human? It's whenever we first realize it, really. And what happens is Princess Bubblegum makes a comment about you're like one of the last human beings, or it was something like that. It's kind of hard to remember exactly the words, but it was about him being one of the only humans. They're basically tasked with getting rid of these tree stumps. They find one that's not a tree stump, it's actually a hatch. They go down the hatch and they find these humanoid type creatures. He meets this one that's wearing like a cat beanie, and the name of it is Susan. It's like basically like Tarzan type thing where they're not very accustomed to the world. They're scared of everything, including the grass, the dark, the shadows, just everything. They get to go to the Candy Village, or Candy Kingdom, should I say. And what Susan wants after learning about marshmallows, etc., is eating. She wants to eat candy. So she starts eating Candy Butler, and Finn's like, no, 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 you can't eat the candy people. And Susan's like very, what is it? She's not very knowledgeable. So in her own words, she's like, oh, it's not okay to eat Candy Butler, but it's okay to eat everything else. So she goes back and she goes and gets her tribe. She plays the horn, And now it's the Candy Kingdom's turn to scare them away, and they all have these like crappy like Halloween disguises on, and they're just trying to get rid of them. So they put up this like movie. You know what I'm talking about? Whenever you have a projector, they put the screen down, and behind it they try to make shadows, and it doesn't work at first. There's marshmallow people that accidentally get burnt, and it creates these like crazy, scary shadows. So it ends up they go back, and we figure out that they're actually not humans. They're actually like part fish. But I don't think we find out for Susan. She might be human. She also might be Finn's mom. And this is where it's kind of like the whole question: is she Finn's mom, or is she just an ancestor? We'll never know, probably. Maybe we will. You know. Number 19, Mystery Train. So for this episode, we get to have Finn's birthday, and his gift all starts off with a train ride. This is a very iconic episode, by the way. So as they're on the train, people just start getting murdered one by one. You have this creepy uh, conductor. The conductor is very creepy and weird, and everyone's dying. It's just Finn and Jake. And Finn's like, I think I know, finally did it after guessing this whole time. It's an episode you gotta watch. But in the end, spoiler, it's the conductor, which is also Jake. It's Jake. Sorry. Let's see. Number 20. Go With Me. If I so can ask. So this one, Jake's like talking about couples movie night, and Finn doesn't really know what couple movies night is, so he's wanting to like bring a snail and stuff like that. Or no, it was a bird at first. Then he goes from that to a blanket. He doesn't understand. Jake's just like, you gotta bring someone you can smooch. Um, Basically he's given bad advice by both Marceline and Jake. It's just terrible, and it never works out. So what happens in the end? Marceline ends up going with Finn himself, and yuck, they spoiled the movie for everyone. That's a good sum up, I feel like, for that one. 21, Belly of the Beast. So there's a bunch of bears in this belly of this like giant, and what happened is they're like exploding fireworks and stuff, and he's just trying to get rid of all the bears in his stomach. So Finn is stupid, so he tells him, hopefully he doesn't drink that lava or something like that. And well, of course the giant tries to go and do it. So he has to basically get in touch with the leader. In order to get in touch with the bear's leader, you have to be a party animal and party with him. And yeah, they finally figure out that the only way they're going to do this is they have to prove it to him. So they get proof, they get out of it, and then after that, they are like, instead of using fireworks, we'll use laser pointers. And then they didn't really learn a true lesson. Other than that, they went back to the giant. So, 22, it's The Limit. Finn and Jake must journey through a magic wish granting maze in order to make sure it stretches himself. Okay, I watched this one today. This one, it was kind of stupid. Like, it was kind of stupid, but it was also good. So, basically, Hot Dog Princess gets this, like, message. It said but something, like, dumb. And they go to, like, this wish maze. There's, like, hot dog warriors, I think, stuck in it. And, yeah, as they're trying to go through the maze, Jake is stretching and stretching and stretching, and it gets to where at the very end he basically can't stretch right anymore. The hot dog people kept forcing him and telling him he can do it, and they're basically manipulating him into keep on doing it because they didn't care about his well-being and just wanted their wish. So in the end, one of them dies, one of them kills themselves, one of them blows their wish, and Jake stretched out to like little tiny Jake, and he can't think of what to wish for. So he wishes for a sandwich. Oh, by the way, one of the hot dog people, they're so smart. They wish for a box. And, well, our buddy Finn, he wishes for the elephant. They want it. I forgot what type of elephant it was. It was a crazy elephant. That's all I can tell you. It was insane. What was the... Does this tell you the name of the elephant? Well, they wish for an elephant. It was like a galactic warrior elephant. It was really awesome, though. And so the elephant gets his wish, and it, like, reads his mind. And, yeah, he wishes for Jake to be better, and the guy's like, oh, you're supposed to die. And they get out, because it flies. Number 23, Video Makers. This one, they're doing a movie night club, and this the first movie night that we see in this episode. Basically, they read the message before the movie plays of the advisory of not to play the movie. Like, I don't know, just, you know what I mean, that advisory warning where it's like, don't play this movie illegally or something. And they're like, whoa, man. And then they send everyone out, and they decide, in order to keep movie club going, that they need to make their own movie. They end up fighting. One wants a romance comedy, while one of them wants an action adventure. And what happens is this BMO's recording it all. He basically does this little movie about them being friends, and it makes me happy. I don't like to see them fighting, so it was a wholesome episode in its own right at the end. It was a good song too. 24, Mortal Folly. First part. Okay, this is like really weird. So this is the Lich King episode. So Princess Bubblegum goes on this conquest not with them, but she shows them where the Lich King is, because she has this fear as they're basically meditating, and that fear is that he'll awaken. So they have to wear these like gemstones to make sure he doesn't take over their minds. What happens is for some weird reason, Finn has a snail, and the snail gets brainwashed by the Lich King, and that snail somehow lets out the Lich King. And it's really stupid because they have to fight him, and he finally gets to the place of where his powers are. They go underground into a subway, which actually furthers makes me question, what more is this world? Is it secretly a world that basically went past like our evolution time and went into like this fantasy state over time? Or like, you know what I mean? Like, what happened in the world? Because it has aspects of our world within it. And then you have people like Finn, Susan that resembled. But anyway, they finally defeat him, and the Ice King's just being dumb. He's like wanting to kidnap Princess Bubblegum, and he was bringing her there because he's dumb. He wanted to follow them the whole time. He's like, look what I had to do. And well, in the end, our Princess Bubblegum ended up falling in the fluids, like it's like the power pool. And yeah, next episode is a two-parter. Very awesome episode. So, Mortal Recoil, our princess, we get to see her in the ER. She's like pretty messed up, and I like to say this episode's more like the exorcism. So she starts being weird and talking with this deep voice, just like the Lich King. And she is like, Finn is like trying to confess love to her, and it just doesn't work at all in this episode because she's not her. She's really the Lich King. And what happens is she basically cons Finn into getting a bunch of supplies to basically make the pool bath that gives her her powers, or the Lich King's powers, should I say, because she's the Lich King and not Princess Bubblegum, which is kind of confusing because she's in the body of Princess Bubblegum. But yeah, so Jake, as while Finn's getting the stuff, Jake gets to see her burn in the bed and basically kill all the flowers they picked for her from the Candy Kingdom. And it's kind of a crazy episode. It's very evil. Um, so in the end, she gets really big from drinking the tub of stuff she concocts in the bathtub, and then they have to fight. They're basically pissed at Ice King because they think Ice King killed her, and he kind of did, because why would you kidnap her and bring her there? And at the end, the sweater saved Finn. It gave him the power of like. In reality, it meant love, but he's still a kid in the series, so like is just as good as love. Um, it's very awesome. So they have to fight Princess Bubblegum in her huge form, and Ice King basically uses his ice on her. She basically tilts over, and the way that ice powers work, they crack, or not crack, but they you know what I mean? They break apart from the ice. So she broke apart, and they have to reconstruct Princess Bubblegum. And whenever they reconstruct Princess Bubblegum, um, she's actually aged down to Finn's age, and she ends up giving Finn a hug. I will say this in context of this episode, I'm hoping to continue to see them stay the same age for quite a bit, because it fits it. So that means because it's just weird for her to be older and then Finn be younger. Because that would mean she was like a grown woman, and Finn had feelings for her. But she's technically not a human, so does it really matter at the same time? I don't know. It's complicated, but it's also a really awesome episode. Good two-parter. Um, yeah, really, really worth a watch. That 1 and 2-parter for sure. Um, episode 26. This is a Marceline episode. Marceline episodes are some of the best episodes I've seen in all of Adventure Time so far. If she's in it, it's probably going to be a good episode. Marceline basically pranks Finn and Jake by pretending to turn him into a vampire. Well, the whole point they're over there, that she has a bunch of ghost friends, which are dead friends, which has me questioning: did she kill off her friends, or did they just magically die from hanging out with her? Anyway, the friends that she has, they're very toxic friends, and Finn and Jake are tricked into thinking they have these powers. They're just there to watch Heat Seekers, the movie, and it goes from this to them telling Finn and Jake that they can turn invisible, and they're picking on they're it's just stupid. It is a stupid episode, a stupid Marceline episode, but it's very dark for her, and it's another episode that makes her look good. So they're basically picking on the princess, and what happens is that Finn and Jake they didn't figure it out, but Marceline just keeps helping them out. Just little things. In the end of the episode, from it all, the ghost in reality just kept trying to kill him. The next point, after they scare the princess, oh god, I can't think of her name. Plump Princess, or the Cloud Princess. You know what I'm talking about? The one that looks like a cloud. The purple one. I can't think of her name. She's my least favorite princess, by the way, but I think she's made to be the least favorite. Sorry, I got confused, but I'm trying to do this in one shot. Anyway, the princess got scared. After that, the next thing, they basically tell Finn and Jake it's time to learn to fly. They take him to this not the sky, but it's this cliff, this giant cliff. It's just giant rock, and what they do is they basically get him to jump off, and they're just gonna let him die. The ghosts were, because they're conning them really hard. Marceline's starting to have regret of ever starting this, and she has to save him. So she turns invisible as well as helps them fly, and they think, oh, we can fly. Next part to this all is that they get invited to a party because they tell Marceline they're planning to suck their brains at a party. So Marceline's like, don't go to the party, they're going to suck your brain. But we know how Finn and Jake are. they end up doing what Marceline told them not to, and well, they try sucking their brains, and they're just like, I wanted to show you guys Heat Seekers, and they're like, Heat Seekers? So we cut to them watching Heat Seekers because they're more interested in that than sucking their brains. I'm sorry I got kind of confused with the last episode. It was a one-shot episode, so it's not as severe as the 1 and 2 parters. Um, it's interesting, but it shows, yet again, Marcelina has a good heart compared to other characters. As far as season 2, how do I feel about it? I think it's one of the darker seasons thus far. Well, we've only seen season 1, but I want to say it's very dark. And my favorite episodes are definitely It Came from the Nightosphere is probably my favorite. Good song, and it was very wholesome as well. Um, my least favorite episode out of all these, mm, it's it's hard because there's too many good episodes. Um, to cut a woman's hair is probably my least favorite because just I feel like it's just a placeholder to have an episode. Yet again, I still think it was a good episode. Um, what I will say, guys, is I'm thankful for everyone that comes and checks out my videos. I'm hoping to get these out weekly if I can. It can be a little hard trying to jam 26 episodes in, and I don't really write notes. I kind of go off the cuff, and I hope you guys like the genuine response. I'm fresh off a lot of those like Ender episodes. While the early ones, I had to look at this a little bit for context to remember what was going on. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed, and definitely come and check it out. Oh, well, before we get to the end, I wanted to rate season 2. So season 2, I think this one is definitely deserving of a 9 out of 10. And it was phenomenal. It was very phenomenal. Anyway, guys, hope the best for you. Stay safe. Peace.